Hi, Nancy. Sorry I'm late. I just finished my other webinar. That school had so many questions. I mean, not that it was a bad thing, but let me know if you can hear me. Your microphone is muted, Nancy. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, hello.
Hello. I don't know why my video is not coming on. That's weird.
Is there a camera option on your controls
Yeah.
and it's not letting you turn it on?
Well, I've got two cameras on. No, it's not letting me turn it on. That is
Hmm.
weird. This meeting's being recorded. Okay. Let me try it again.
There we go.
Okay.
All
Flip
right.
it over.
I'm gonna let everybody in and introduce you.
Okay, I don't see the PowerPoint though.
Oh, hang on. Oh no, I am sharing it though. Stop sharing. Share.
Okay, I've got a picture of somebody on the front of my screen now. It's probably your daughter. Now she's up in my place. Okay, there's the video. But I think your daughter's up in my picture where I would be.
Hang on. Let me let Judy in because Judy is an employee, and I'll ask her if she can see the PowerPoint. That way, I know if what
And
everybody else
that's
can
that's
see.
all that matters is that everybody can see the PowerPoint. Doesn't matter if they can see me or not.
Okay. Hey, Judy. Before I let everybody in, can you see the PowerPoint? It should look like a palette of makeup powder. Judy, your microphone's muted.
Are you muted, Marie? Hi,
There you
Nancy.
are.
Okay.
Hey,
Hi,
Judy.
Nancy. It's
Hi,
Judy.
how you doing, Judy?
Good. How are
Can
you
you
doing today?
do you see the PowerPoint, Judy?
Yes, I do. I see all the powder.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm gonna let
All right.
everybody
I'm
in.
gonna go. I'm gonna go mute. I'm excited, Nancy. Here we go.
All right, let me let everybody in. I'll do the
All right.
announcements and then it's all yours.
All right.
Okay, thanks. You're my co-pilot.
I got you. Don't you worry. Good after, well, morning. It's at least morning here. Hopefully, it's still morning everywhere else. This is Marie with Your New School. We are going to get started shortly. Before we get started, I do have some announcements. If you are a student and you are logging in remotely, if you can please utilize the chat box and type in your full name, full school name, and school location, just city and state. That is for attendance and certificates to be sent to your school. If you are an educator and you are logged in with your class as a group, I still need you to use the chat box and type in your full school name. Please do not abbreviate your school names. A lot of schools have the same abbreviations, especially if you're a tech center. And I want to make sure that I'm getting certificates to the right school. And then, of course, I need city and state for your location. Again, in case you are from a school that has multiple campuses, I want to make sure that I'm getting your attendance and certificates sent to the right school. So the chat box is the only thing that saves when I log out. So please, please, please make sure that you are putting that information in the chat box. Otherwise, you will not be receiving your certificates or your attendance for your school. So again, full name, full school name, and school location needs to be in the chat box. All right, that is my announcements. Also, keep your microphones muted, your cameras turned off. That will minimize feedback and static noise, keeps the buffering to a bare minimum. I am so excited to introduce you guys to Nancy Ogden West. She is the Director of Business Development and Education at Color Lab, and she will be doing our wonderful webinar today on how to choose color for makeup. And Nancy, I'm turning it over to you. I'm going to mute my microphone and it's all yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Marie. Well, it's a delight to be here today. So thank you for introducing me and inviting me in. So I'm going to talk about choosing makeup colors, but I want to kind of start this out with talking about communication before you even get into choosing colors. Because if you don't communicate with the client about what they're doing, the types of colors that they're working with, you'll have no idea. You're going in blind, and the last thing you want to do is a makeup application with colors that the client doesn't really like. Okay. Also, you want to make sure that when you are doing a makeup application for a client, you're not using the same colors they use all the time, because part of this also is retail. And for them to be able to keep up what you have taught them or what you have done for them, they need to have those same products to go along with it. So I want you to think about retailing as being able to have the client go in and reproduce what you have already done. So you want to talk to them. You want to find out a little bit about how are they wearing their makeup right now? Like, how are they doing their eyes? What are they putting on the lids? You know, are they getting another color up in the socket of the eye, up in the frontal bone? How about eyeliners? What are they used to using? Pencils or powders or cream or liquids, and how do they put that liner on? You know, what about the blush colors? What about the lipstick colors? I mean, lipstick can be a love or hate situation. You know, I mean, you've been be doing great with everything that you've done on them and go to apply their lipstick color and they just hate that color. So communication is of the utmost importance, first of all, so you have an idea of the type and the style of makeup that you're going to be doing with this client. Let's go ahead and progress to the next slide, please. So how to pick the perfect makeup colors. Next. So the first thing when we look at color, you want to think about color theory, because that's what it's all uh, evolved around. And so you can see basically when you're talking about color, there are three dimensions to color. You have hue and tone, which is your color itself. Next is depth and value. That has to do with the lightness and the darkness of the color. And then intensity, is it a high intense, a medium intense, or a low intense? And I'm going to be talking about a little bit later, what about the finish of the product also? Is it a matte? Is it luminescent? Okay, is it sheer? Is it medium? Is it full pigmented? So those are things that are going to go into your consideration of choosing your colors. Next. So when we look at color, our primary colors, as we know, are yellow, red, and blue. Now, next to that, if you mix your primaries together, one like yellow and blue, you get a secondary, that's green. Then your secondary color, if you mix a secondary color and a primary to color, you get a tertiary color. So you can see as you go around, and let's go from the yellow to the blue side, yellow and blue create your greens. Then we go from the blue to the violet side, and you can see that with your blue and your red, you create your violet. And you can see your secondary colors. From the blue, your secondary is going to create your tertiary, which has more blue to it. And you can see that the tertiary closer to the red has more of a reddish hue to it. And then you go between your red and your yellow, and that's where you're going in there to create more of your orange type of colors. And then you can see your tertiary colors in between that. So that's the range of your colors when you're looking at them. Next. So again, when we look at those colors, we're looking at the depth value of them. And so this slide is also broken down into the same thing I just went through, but it shows you when you go from your lightest color into your medium color into your darker color, how the depth and the tone of the color will change at the same time. Next. Okay, so color harmonies. When you're thinking about selecting colors, okay, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. I mean, first of all, just be creative and just get out there. And I think what is so important in our industry is we constantly stay up with the changes going on because we are an ever-changing industry. I mean, we talk about, spring and and summer being together, fall and winter together, but out of each one of those categories, there are color changes that are going on. For example, right now, I mean, the color of the year is called mocha mousse. Okay, so we're still into some of the brown shades, but not as many of the brown shades, not as strong. Like you're seeing some red browns, you're seeing some warm browns that have a little bit more of an orange into them. Okay, you're seeing your light beigey tones at the same time. Those are still around. You're seeing your direction of the darker liner around the lip area with the lighter color in the center. I tell you, I've already lived through that trend about 3 times. So these trends come and go as we look at them. So thinking about your color harmonies, your angelics are the colors that are right or left of each other. So they set next to each other. Your monochromatics are the same color in different values. Okay, the hue might be slightly different, but different values. Your complementary colors are colors that set across from each other. Now, I know that you guys do custom blending also. So when we think about those complementary colors, that's also how we think of neutralization of color at the same time. When we are making something and we want to eliminate a color or a strength of a color in what we're making. So complementary colors always will neutralize a color. Tertiary colors are colors that set an equal distance from one another. And the chromic colors are a color scheme of black, white, and gray that you're looking at. Next, please. Okay, then you want to look at your finish. What kind of color reflectiveness is there to the finish? And that's another thing that gets very trendy with us, not only with eye makeup, but with our blush, with our lipstick, with the finish of the skin. Okay, I want you to think about it that way too. So we know that matte has no shine to it. Okay, so there's nothing with any luminescence within that product. Then you have your luminescence, and those have a reflective shine to them. We know anytime we have a color, even if it's a dark color, and it has a luminescent finish to it, it can create some extension in the area that you apply it in because of that reflective shine. Next, you have a shiny or a glossy look. So today, when we look at the face and what has been in for a little bit is the dewy look on the skin. Okay, which would be considered a shiny look. So it's a glossy look to the skin. I remember back in the 80s when the matte look came in, those of us who had oily skin couldn't keep it because our oil would just keep coming out after we put all the flat matte products on. So realize there is, when you work with a client, you do have to think about their skincare, and that's really going to make a difference in the moisturizer that you start with, the primer that you put on the skin, and the finish of the foundation that you're going to use at the same time. So again, that dewy look, we're not calling it a shiny look, we're calling it a dewy look. And that is going to be something that is going to be, because your oily skin is going to get the dewy look anyway. But for your dry skin client, or the client that kind of sits right in between there, that's where adding something into your formulation, you can add something reflective like some pearl. Okay, and you can add something that's going to create a dewiness like the ultra moisture lipid complex, which is a group of 15 different botanical oils and extracts that can be added in for foundation. Metallic is a very high reflective. look, and we are seeing metallic starting to come in. We weren't doing luminescent for quite a while. It was all about matte. Luminescent started to break its way in. You're starting to see metallic break its way in more now also. So if you want to do a metallic lip gloss or a metallic lipstick, you're going to add an extra large scoop of frost into your formulation. Now, with a lipstick, you need to make sure that you do add some moisture additive into that formulation if you're adding that extra large scoop of frost into your formulation to create that metallic finish. Opaque is a very dense color. It means you can't see through it. Okay, so if you really want to set an area back on the face, you want that to be a very opaque type of color, because the more opaque a color is, the more action you're going to get, whether it's going to be some extension, but reflective always creates more extension. Or if it's going to be matte, a darker color is going to set that area back farther. Next, you look at translucent. I think of translucent like a stained glass window, okay? You can still see some light coming through it. So in many situations, for a client, they're looking for a sheer foundation. That's going to be a little more of a translucent foundation, which means that you're not going to be adding as much of the foundation base into it. And when we're dealing with eyeshadow, it's going to be a color that is left with some sheerness to it. And that can be the colors you select and the finish of the colors that you select. And then transparency is a real see-through type of color. So translucent transparency, thinking about that right now when you're thinking about your lip oils, and lip balms have become very popular. Both of those products, when you're making lip oils or lip balms right now, your lip balms are going into the squeeze tubes. That's what you're seeing in them. And the lip oils, of course, are going into a wand with that. But they only have a small amount of pigment in it. And I want to bring something else up for right now, because everything that we're reading about, not only in the consumer magazine, but in our trade magazine, is custom blending. They're calling it mixology, they're calling it cocktailing. So this is a huge direction. I mean, we've been around for 26 years, so we've known about it and believed in it for a long, long time. But as traditions in the cosmetic industry change, this has now become very strong. The second really strong direction we're seeing and hearing about is dermatological cosmetics. What does that mean? That means your cosmetics have skincare attributes to them. So we are using a term right now called hybrid. Hybrid means it is a cosmetic product that creates changes within the skin, but has great skincare ingredients in it at the same time that feed and nourish the skin. So that's why it's important to keep up with the trends that are happening in our field, and they do change quite rapidly. Next, please. Okay, now this is looking at your skin tones. Okay, of course, from your very lightest to your very darkest color. When you are getting into the medium and moving into the darker shades, your colors have to have more payoff to them. They have to carry more brightness to them, because when you lay a color on top of a darker skin, the color mutes down for you. It's just like when you lay a color on a very light skin, it can have a tendency to look a little stronger and a little bit more dominant. So also, I want you to think about when you're selecting a color, depending on their skin tone, what is going to give you the activity that you're looking for with this. Next, please. And then you're looking at warm and cool, okay? And the easiest way to determine this is get a piece of silver lame and get a piece of gold lame and drape like a silver underneath their face, and then drape a gold, and you will be able to tell pretty immediately if they're warmer or they're cooler in their nature. Okay. You can also look at their eye color. at the same time, besides looking at their skin tones. So we know that our cooler colors can carry a little bit more pink. They don't carry quite as much yellow in the skin. Now, we all have yellow in our skin, okay? But it goes from the very lightest into the very darkest. As skin starts to darken, it has a natural tendency to get more yellow into the skin. Okay, so let's say that I am working with a woman of color, a Black woman, and there's so many different degrees of the depth of skin. I know when I see, and I'm working with somebody on the lightest side, they have a soft yellow undertone to their skin. When they start to get a little bit darker, that yellow can become a little bit stronger. When they get a little darker, that yellow can be mixed with a little bit of red. And then when you go to your very darkest, you have got that blue violet undertone to the skin. So think about what undertone of the client's skin that you're working with, and that's going to help you create your colors that have continuity from the eyes to the blush to the lips. Next. So warm and cool. And you know what's great out there. I mean, I call my library Ulta and Sephora. I mean, I love to go into those stores and just go around and look at the colors, look at the products. I'm a mess by the time I leave because I have color all over my hands, up my arms. But you can't always tell what a color looks like in a concentration. But this slide shows you your warm and cool families from the very lightest going down into the very darkest of colors with this. And remember, you've got a neutral family that kind of sits right there in the middle also. Okay, next. Okay, now this is just a color breakdown of cool, neutral, and warm from light, medium, tan, and dark. And so you can see as the cooler undertones in the skin get, they are still carrying that little bit of reddish tone. You go over into your warm family, and you always see your warm family carries a little bit more yellow and darkens down there for you. And your neutral family kind of sits there right in between. So there's a lot of people that can set right into a neutral direction and sway a little bit warm or sway just a little bit towards the cool side. And there are some things when you look at color, and I know for me, is that put me in muted colors and I feel lifeless and lacking color. My coloring is very cool. I would be considered a winter with my coloring. But I know that because I love bright orange, which is very far from being a cool color. And I know I can move over into my warm range of colors and get away with it as long as I use color that has some life to it. So I can wear warm colors to carry a little more brightness to them at that point. The cool colors are always going to be something that probably sits a little bit more attractively on my skin. Next. Okay, so what I threw in here was a breakdown by the seasons of winter, spring, summer, and autumn, and how the colors divide. Marie, this could be, and a couple of these charts could be great to print out and have on the walls in your schools, just if you don't already have it, just to really show your students how the seasons break down into the colors. And you can see with each one of those seasons, they have a clear, a cool, and a deep with it. So there is a variety of colors that we can go with, and a lot of this has to do with our personality at the same time and what our comfort level is. Next. Now, picking colors based on hair and eye color. We'll go to the next slide. So when you look at eye color, and these numbers right on the inside is just giving you a categorization, because on the next slide, it has it broken down a little bit more. I don't know if our eyes change colors or not. I thought I had brown eyes most of my life. And then I'm looking closer into the mirror. Maybe it's because I got a magnifying mirror, and I realized my eyes are hazel in nature. So they carry the green in them at the same time, which I never noticed before, besides a little bit of brown into the center of the eye. So you can see the various hues. If you look to number 2, those are pretty neutral in coloration. Look over to number 6. You've got can carry a little more warmth into that. Okay. Look at number 3. Look at the coolness of the blue that you see. Okay. And then almost an aqua color of number 5, and then definitely into the dark with your 6. So that just shows you the human eye and the colors that you can see. And it's not just one color. I mean, there could be 3, 4 different colors in the eyes when you look at them. So what you're looking for is the most dominant color. Next slide, please. And this just breaks down and shows you, again, what the colors of the eyes look like when you're going into the different categories from bright to muted, clear to soft, dark to light. Okay. And you'll normally see those light eyes just can really pop on somebody. I don't know where I was a couple of days ago, and the kid that was helping me had these clear, light, bright blue eyes. I mean, they were just gorgeous. They just popped right out of his head. Yeah, but you can see we have a variety of directions. But again, color comes back to what is the client like? What are their types of preferences? So that's why we always go back to communication. Next slide, please. Okay, so here are complementary eye colors and colors of eyeshadows that can work along with them, or they could be blushers also, or lip colors. So with blue eyes, we find that oranges, browns, peaches, golds, and coppers can really make those blue eyes pop a little bit more. If they're a little bit more towards the blue-green, think about a red orange, okay? That's going to make the eye come out more. Apricot, it's going to be a little more peachy and a peachy pink. Okay, so it has kind of more of a neutral direction is how I look at that. Then you go to a blue violet, and that is a yellow orange. That's definitely warm in nature with a golden brown or a dark brown color. Now, for your green eyes, your reds, your mauves, your pinks, your red browns are really going to make those eyes pop. And then here's my eyes. My eyes are the hazel. Well, I'm sorry, I passed one. Yellow green is where your reds, violet, plum, purple, and red violets. I've got the hazel eyes, but I do carry a lot of green in my eyes. So, and it's so funny. I kind of moved over to more burgundy, softer mauve tones, and I couldn't believe the difference because I've been in this industry 50 years, so we were not doing color analysis back in those days on how that really brings my eyes out. Then brown eyes that carry a little bit more yellow in them, they can still use that violet color, those lavenders, and some of the really deep eggplant colors. And then when you have those light golden brown eyes, again, you're going into your yellow orange tones because you're carrying some warmth to them. Your violet, your grays, your periwinkles are again going to make a pop. When you are working with colors that blend with the eye colors more, it's more subdued. When you work with colors that are a little more opposite, like this one, your violets, your periwinkles, it creates more kick to the color, to the eye. And then when you're dealing with those deep amber eyes, those burnt oranges or browns that have a little color to them, or grays or blues, are going to be great colors to complement those eye colors. Next, please. And then again, what you've got here are you've got eye colors and you've got hair color to go along with those eye colors. Well, we're definitely in the industry where hair color changes a lot. And it's great because you're in a school, and if somebody has their hair color change, they should send them over to you to do a color makeup change at the same time. This is called cross-selling, okay? So you're promoting somebody in another department, unless you're a makeup artist yourself, okay, besides a hairdresser. And, you know, you're getting to work with them a little bit more, getting that confidence under them, and they're really learning from you. And when a person learns from you, it creates more of a reason that they want to come back to you. And that's why talking, communicating, sharing your ideas with the client, sharing what you see with the trends. And that's why it's important to stay on top of the trends that are going on. You know, they say for a woman, you can tell a woman's best years by the way she wears her hair and her makeup. So I'm working on constantly changing my hair and my makeup because I am one of those older women. So this just gives you an idea of color. But remember, when you're dealing with color and you want to look at the eye colors, and that will give you some direction on makeup colors to select. Next, please. Okay, hair and eye colors for redheads. Well, first of all, you normally find redheads have fair skin. They carry a lot of cool pink or mauve colors in their skin. They can have a tendency to have brown, or, you know, I've seen some that have some blue eyes also, which are just stunning. And for the brown eyes, you want to think about going into some soft peaches, coppery bronze tones. You know, if you get too bold sometimes with your whites, I have a tendency that I will do my lid color after I do a socket color, because I want to see what that socket color or frontal bone color, how does it pop? Where does it look? What do I want to create as far as color going onto the lid? They can wear browns like sables, or a brown with a grayish hue to it, taupes, colors like that. Um, Green eyes can have a tendency to have darker red hair. And they can also use darker greens for that person who likes a little more strength. More terracotta, more neutral with a blush or a cherry lipstick or a khaki eye. Have a little fun with your colors. You know, don't get so stuck in wearing the same thing all the time. Deep eggplant, purples, burgundies, they can bring out red hair. Next, please. Brunettes. Brunettes with green eyes, which I'm finding I have, more so, do create a little more of a natural pop. They can wear metallics. In my younger years, I did. And I wore some brighter colors. I wore some earth tones at that point. But as I've gotten a little older, I've softened my eyeshadows down and strengthened my lip color up. It used to be stronger eyes and softer lips. But as we do get a little bit more mature in age, a little more color on the lips gives us some life so we don't look washed out. Slate shadows can be nice, lavenders with taupes, anything that has a purple, a little bit of a reddish base, okay, into it. But the key is don't match the eye color. If you match the eye color, what it does is it takes away from bringing your eyes out. So think about if you're going to use a color, then use a color that is a little bit on the lighter side or is on the darker side that doesn't distract from your own eye color. Next, please. Amethyst, garnets, royal purples are also good for brown. I'm going to tell you, people with brown hair, a little more brown eyes can get away with a little bit more. If more warmth is in the hair, then in the skin, yellow or olive undertones, think of coppers, bronzes, and golden shadows. These colors usually have a little more warmer undertones. If the skin is a little bit more fair with blue eyes and brown hair, colors in reds, greens, blues, are going to work better for them. Stay away from yellows. They can kind of drag their color down. That means mauves like royal blues and emerald greens will also work well. Next. Blondes. Blondes with fair skin and light eyes Well, we say keep the makeup a little bit on the softer side, but I'm going to tell you, I've seen and done some dramatic makeup on fair skin with light eyes, and I'm going to tell you, those eyes can just pop. So again, I go back to understanding a little bit about the client that you're working on. Because if you've got a client who likes stronger makeup and you do a really soft makeup on them, they might look at it and say, "Jay, I feel like I don't have anything on my face." So again, communicate, communicate, communicate. And it's the same thing when you're doing hair, whether it's doing a haircut or whether you're doing color. If they're a little bit of a cooler blonde, like maybe you see a little more platinum highlights in their hair, or are they a little bit on the warmer side? Do they have more golden highlights in their hair? So you can think a little bit more along a warmer direction with honey, champagne, peaches, and caramels. Next, please. Platinum highlights, cool undertones, the more ashy, more silvery, more bluish. Okay, keep your colors a little cooler. Neutral shades like browns, grays, camels, and things like that. And then lighter shades like pinks and lilacs and violets will also work. Next. And then when you have the client that has the gray hair, and most of the time, I mean, I do know, I mean, my uncle was gray, I think when he was 19 years old, he told me, and always had most beautiful gray hair. But today, there are things that we can do with gray hair. I mean, they're going in, they're doing beautiful gray highlights of various tones in it, which I think looks really beautiful together. But when you're dealing with somebody with gray, again, like I said, most of the time you're dealing with somebody that is a little bit more mature in age. And everybody wears their makeup different. I mean, I'm not here to say if you're older, you shouldn't wear heavy makeup. If that's what you like, go for it, is my philosophy. Neutral shadows and white, ivory grays, charcoals, navies, soft purples, can complement if the hair carries a little more coolness. Soft liners like a charcoal or a navy instead of a black. Okay. And even when you're dealing with your individuals that do color their hair, instead of using black liners on them, think about going more into a brown liner. It's just going to create a little bit more softness. So normally we find as we do gray, and we are mature at that point, that we're just softening our makeup down a little bit. But as I said a little while ago, throw a little color on those lips. That's going to give some life into their face. Next. For the cheeks, think a little bit bolder shade, but apply it a little bit softly. So if you really think about what we're doing with blush right now, we're into a reddish color with the blush at this point. It's brought in closer to the nose. It's actually put on top of the nose. It is brought higher on the cheekbone, lifted up into the temple of the face and along the side planes of the forehead. Okay, where you notice the curve area. So again, we do go back to looking at how colors are changing. The key is that when we do apply it, just apply it a little softer. But they do need makeup on their skin. They do need that color because otherwise, if their skin is fair and they have the gray hair, they can just look washed out if they don't have a little life. I kind of stay away from nudes and browns on the lips because again, they can look a little washed out. So it could be, softer pinks or peaches or reds, again, if that's very personal. And then when you're dealing with that client that might have a darker complexion, more olive undertones in their skin, you may find a color that has a little bit more life of pink is going to work with them. If they're a little bit sallow, think about, again, adding something that creates a dewy effect, a luminescent effect, okay? And just brighten them up. And that's when it talks about the hair, doing glazes or doing highlighters with your gray hair can create more life and create a lot of difference for the client. Next, please. Well, I guess that's it. So have fun with color, but also before you do pick up any colors and decide what you're going to do, communicate well with your client, because that's the most important. I know so many women that I've talked to that have gone someplace to have their makeup done, and the first thing they wanted to do then when they walked away was to wash their face. And that's really a tragic shame. And that's only because the makeup artist doing their makeup did not communicate well with them to really understand what they would feel most comfortable with and what you can push a little bit at this point. So stay on top of it. Color is color, but color and how we're applying color changes at least 4 times a year. As I said in the very beginning, Mocha Mousse is the color of the year. And so, yes, we are still in some of those beigey brown tones, but as we are moving into spring and into summer, you're going to see a real influx of soft pinks. Another one they're calling it is a dirty pink. Okay, so that to me is a pink with just a little bit of brown in it. And we're going to be moving into the peach shades. So that's why it's really important. And today, with our computers, we can pick up so easily what is the trends going on out there. So keep yourself educated. It's an ever-changing industry. That's what keeps it fun. It's never boring in our field because it is ever-changing, and we're always learning and growing. Maria, thank you for inviting me on. I want to wish you all the very best with your careers. As I said earlier, I've been in this field for 50 years. I retired for maybe a year. I got bored. I missed it so much. I went back to work. So have fun. And
Thank you, Nancy.
clients up.
Yes,
great
thank you so
information.
much, Nancy, for joining our schools today. We greatly appreciate it. For the schools that are logged in, if you haven't done so yet, please make sure that your attendance information was typed into the chat box so that I can get certificates sent over to your school along with your attendance. So if you are a student and you're logging in remotely, please make sure it's your full name, full school name, and school location, and I will get certificates sent over to your school. If you are an educator and you're with your class, I just need school name, location, and the word group next to your school name, and I'll make sure to get certificates sent over to your schools as well. So again, thank you, Nancy, for joining us. I loved it. And if there are any questions, feel free to ask.
Yep, I'm here.
Great information.
Well, thank you, Maria. And if you could do some of those charts that I had in there and put those up in the room, I think they'd be really beneficial for the students.
Yeah, I'll send that to the schools
Okay,
so that
sounds
they can
great.
print them. Thank you.
Take
Great.
care. Have a
Thank
great
you. Have
week.
a good week.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Nancy. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So Nancy, I'm just going to stay on for just a couple minutes just to give last minute people time to type in the chat box. Otherwise, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. I'm just going to leave this on then.